FUJIFILM X-T5, shutter, ISO, and aperture dials might seem retro to most of us, but for many photographers they are still exceptionally useful tools. At a glance you can quickly check and adjust your exposure settings and be ready for your next shot even when the camera is turned off. As with previous XT models, the X-T5 has an ISO, shutter speed, and exposure compensation dial across its top deck, but now the X-T5 also shares the same 40-megapixel BSI CMOS sensor as Fujifilm's flagship APS-C camera, the X-H2. When comparing specs, the X-T5 and X-H2 are quite similar. Both share the same hybrid autofocus system, the same ISO range, and same maximum capture rate of 15 frames per second. Both also have 7 stops of built-in image stabilization and can capture 160-megapixel files using multi-shot mode. The X-H2 also captures video at 8K by 30p while the X-T5 captures video at 6.2K by 30p. So, if making meaningful photographs is more important to you than capturing video, the X-T5 is definitely just as capable as its larger sibling. I tested a black-bodied Fujifilm X-T5 with a Fujinon XF14 f2.8 lens, and it was pretty easy to fall in love with the camera. Despite the small hand grip, the camera was comfortable to handle, and it was easy to adjust exposure settings for the various light conditions as I walked through the city, even with the camera turned off. I never had to worry about missing a shot either. The X-T5 turns on in just 0.49 of a second. The X-T5 suits photographers who enjoy working in manual mode, but aperture priority, shutter priority, and program modes are just a click away. Aside from the primary exposure controls, the X-T5 also has front and rear command dials that serve a variety of functions. In manual mode, the command dials can tweak your exposure in 1/3 of stop, but the command dials can also be used to manage ISO and exposure compensation. The ISO dial is marked from 125 to 12,800 ISO. But using the command dial, this range can be extended to 64 and 51,200 ISO, and the exposure compensation dial covers +3 to 3 stops, but this too can be extended to +5 and 5 stops. The shutter dial covers 1 second through to 1/8000, and again, the command dial gives you speeds as slow as 15 minutes in manual and shutter priority mode, 60 minutes in bulb mode, and up to 1/180,000th of a second. When using the electronic shutter, the command dials can also be pressed to activate other functions, including the ability to zoom in quickly on an active focus area, or to switch between adjusting the ISO or EV values to adjusting the aperture settings. The X-T5 has a 0.5-inch, 3.69mm OLED viewfinder that's easy to use even when you are wearing glasses. Where the X-T5 differs from the X-H2 and its predecessor, the X-T4 though, is that it has a 3.0-inch tilting LCD display as opposed to the selfie-style articulated LCD, which can be awkward to use in a hurry. I normally use the viewfinder when composing conventional images, but the tilting LCD panel on the X-T5 is perfect for street photography, particularly when you want a lower viewpoint to help make your subject stand out from the background. The X-T5's 1.89 million touchscreen LCD can tilt upwards or downwards when working in the horizontal position and upwards when the camera is being held in the vertical. Autofocus on the X-T5 is smooth and reliable, although this can be a relatively subjective topic, given it depends on what settings you like to use. For my street photography, where I'm often grabbing moments, I frequently let the camera work in the all setting to decide the best point of focus. And in most instances, it got things right for me.